Is Parliament losing its authority because of all of that noise that we've been discussing, and it was in Olivia's news bulletin there, to really do anything? Is it in danger on the economy, George, of becoming a bystander?
I think systems should be improved, whether we spoke about ethics or whether we spoke about anything that's related to Parliament. It's just very worrying that whatever the case is, whatever the problem is, it takes ages for it to be dealt with. I think this is something that we really ought to start speaking about. And I'm just worried that there is this... when I speak to people on the streets, they just increasingly feel that there is a difference between them and the politicians in Parliament, whether they're from the right or the left, that they're not represented enough. And I think system ought to be changed.
As an observer, Jonathan, there are two schools of thought about us and them. One is it's just a brilliant line from Labour and it's a good way of bashing Boris Johnson and his government. But as George just said, increasingly chatting to ordinary folk, it's the reality. That is how they perceive it, rightly or wrongly.
Oh, I think it is how people perceive it, absolutely. And if you look at the housing crisis, if you look at the cost of living issues that we're facing, Sunak's right in one respect, saying we can't solve everybody's problems. A little bit more humility around it would help. The fact is we can live with an extraordinarily rich Chancellor, but his authority is damaged by all of the issues with his wife's status. It's very sad, but that's life in modern politics. You know, the position of your wife is something that can be commented upon. And let's face it, as a Chancellor, he could have affected non-dom status regulations. And so there are whole issues that come from that. And George is absolutely right. What we've got here is a mismatch. We said earlier in the programme, Alistair, at a different segment, that politicians look like they're constantly internalising, particularly on the Tory side, and it's not making any headway on the ground. It's not going to be anything other than a big issue in the local elections this coming Thursday. So there is a problem. They can do things. They do have the authority to change taxes. They do have the authority to impose windfall taxes. Not a route that I'd like to go down, but it's there to be taken. What we really want is complete honesty about where we are. And that's an openness of a dialogue. And actually, that can come from both sides. And I don't think we're getting that to the extent that we should do.